But we do want to begin in Windsor, Ontario. This is the view from the city looking towards the Gordie Howe International Bridge that links with Detroit. Workers from the two countries are meeting in the middle, putting finishing touches on the project. But divisive new comments from Donald Trump threaten to bring everything to a screeching halt. The U.S. president insists Canada must fully compensate the U.S. That's despite the fact that more than $6 billion in cost was entirely funded by Canada for the bridge, and Trump himself called the project vital back in 2017. Now, the Prime Minister was asked about Trump's bridge ultimatum as he head into cabinet earlier today. Here's what Mark Carney had to say about a call he had with the U.S. president.
We discussed the bridge. I explained that Canada, of course, paid for the construction of the bridge, over $4 billion, that the ownership is shared between the state of Michigan and the government of Canada, and that in the construction of the bridge, obviously there's Canadian steel, Canadian workers, but also U.S. steel, U.S. workers that are involved. This is a great example of cooperation between our countries. Look forward to it opening. And what is particularly important, of course, is the commerce and the tourism and the voyages of Canadians and Americans that will go across that bridge.
So now this new controversy was sparked by a rambling social media post by Donald Trump filled with accusations and false claims about the bridge project. The CBC's Aaron Collins is in Washington with more.
There's a lot to unpack in this one social media post, which is often the case when they come from President Trump. This post, as you mentioned, it's long, it was meandering, it wasn't really very focused, but the broad strokes, if we want to sort of get to that, does revolve around this new Gordie Howe Bridge connecting Windsor and Detroit, set to open very soon. It's completed. There was some talk of a ribbon cutting maybe in March or April. That's not entirely clear. But Trump's essentially threatening not to let that happen unless the U.S. is, quote, fully compensated for everything we have given them. It's unclear what the president is after here, though, Arthi. I mean, this is a project Trump called vital during his first term. As you heard from Premier Ford, he fast-tracked it in 2017. Canada, as you heard from the Prime Minister, paid for the entire cost of building the bridge. And Michigan is going to maintain part ownership. So a sense among many observers that the U.S. president is just plain wrong on this file.
What he's saying is not true. He's badly informed. You know, in his first term, he had some staff around him that were well informed and tried to restrain him. Now, he's got a lot of crackpots working for him and telling him things that simply aren't true. The fact is, the bridge is complete. We've been planning a major celebration, ribbon cutting, for perhaps late March or early April.
And so the bridge wasn't the only topic covered in this social media post. It rambled on for about 300 words, and some of the other, I don't know if you want to call them highlights or lowlights, what have you. The president railed again against Ontario no longer selling American alcohol. There's the complaints we've heard many times before about U.S. dairy farmers being charged tariffs. And this one, really difficult to wrap your head around. He seems to be bothered by Canada negotiating in any way trade deals with China, something the president quite bizarrely says will lead to the outlawing of hockey in Canada. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and certainly we have had a lot of reaction too on this side of the border. We've heard from the Prime Minister, we've heard from Ontario's Premier, as well as the Mayor from Windsor, all within the last 24 hours since that post came out from the U.S. President. What about the U.S.? What are we hearing from inside the United States when it comes to this threat?
Yeah, response from down here south of the border was quick, and especially from Democratic politicians in Michigan, a slew of them weighing in here, including a spokesperson for Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who wrote, it's gonna open, referring to the bridge, one way or another, and the governor's looking forward to attending that ribbon cutting. So an acknowledgement from officials here about the importance economically on both sides of the border of this project. All of this happening, of course, as negotiations over a new Canada-U.S. free trade agreement sort of loom in the background. But members of the Trump administration are saying that those negotiations are completely separate to talks about the bridge.
The Gordie Howe Bridge is Canadian-owned and operated. And there's a concern, a valid concern on the part of the president, that this bridge was allowed to be built. They didn't necessarily use American content in a bridge that's going into the United States. There's a question as to the proceeds of tolls, et cetera, and so there's going to be a negotiation on that front.
I think it's important, whatever happens here, to keep context of these posts in mind. You can't necessarily take the president's musings on social media at face value. I have ample proof of that. Recently Donald Trump's posted about tariffs on Canada's planes, tariffs because we were dealing with China. Those haven't materialized. So it's just really, really hard, Arthi, to know how seriously to take any of this.
That's the CBC's Aaron Collins in Washington. Thank you.